Hey Boomers, Brian Tong here from Boomer Life. Today we're doing a little review on the difference between renting a home and buying a home. It seems to be a pretty pertinent question these days with the housing market going crazy. Apartment buildings are going up left and right everywhere you look, and people are trying to figure out which is the best way to go. So I did a blog here at boomerlife.net, and there's a multiplier that you can use where you take the monthly rent figure, multiply it by 12, so it's an annual number. Then you divide the purchase price of a similar property by that annual rent number. And a ratio greater than 20 generally weighs in favor of renting, while a figure of less than 20 favors buying. So, for example, if you're renting a house for $1,500 a month, including taxes, that equals $18,000 a year. If you want to compare that to buying a $300,000 house, you divide 300 by 18, gives you 16.6, and that would indicate that buying is favorable. It's a pretty easy way to figure out, simplified way to figure that out. Owning a home may be a long time goal for many Americans, but that doesn't mean it's for everybody. Although it may not be your goal, renting has several advantages. The biggest roadblock to buying is qualifying for a loan. Most lenders are going to require 20% down. So for a $300,000 home, that means you got to have $60,000 in cash. And for most people who don't have that kind of cash, that's not an option. Home prices vary widely, of course, depending on location. For example, the median home price is lowest in Mississippi, right around $120,000, whereas the highest is in Hawaii at about $638,000. The nationwide median is $350 right now, which is more than doubled in the last 20 years and is up 24% in the last year alone. It's the same with rents. The average monthly rent in Hawaii is about $2,500, but the median income in Hawaii is also higher. Some people also want to know, too, whether or not they should build or buy an existing home. Unfortunately, the used home supply is really low right now, and that's driving prices up, mostly due to pandemic-related factors. Unfortunately, material costs have increased as well. In 2019, before the pandemic, the average construction cost of a typical single-family home was $296,000, or $114 per square foot. Now, a year later, that number is closer to $400,000. So the bottom line on buying is, do you have the cash and the credit to qualify? So why rent? Although it may not be your goal, renting does have its advantages. For some people, renting might make more sense for their financial circumstances. And I've put in my blog a list of reasons why renting is favorable. First of all, there's no maintenance costs or repair bills. My daughter just bought a home recently, and last week her pool pump went, her pool creeper went, and something else went. I think it was her dryer. All of a sudden, she needed probably $2,000 worth of stuff, and she doesn't make that much money. So, welcome to home ownership. If you're in an apartment and something like that breaks, you just call the manager and say, "Come fix it or replace it." Also, the access to amenities, pools, playgrounds, dog parks, fitness centers. Apartments these days are big into amenities, and you're not going to get that kind of stuff owning a home unless you're in a real tight HOA that has really high costs as well. Another benefit is you don't pay real estate taxes. The national average for property tax on a home is just under $2,500 per year. Also, there's no down payment or credit check. However, there is a security deposit, usually a month's rent, and sometimes you'll have to pay last month's rent as well. There's way more flexibility as to where you live. There's apartment buildings everywhere. There's no concerns about decreasing property values. There's flexibility to downsize or upsize whenever your lease is up. You get a bigger unit if you have kids or a smaller unit if you're retiring, that kind of thing. Also, rent is fixed over the term, whereas adjustable rate mortgages and property taxes can go up over time. Lower insurance costs, renters versus homeowners. Renters pay quite a bit less. And finally, usually there's lower utility costs. So all around, there's a lot of good reasons why you can rent. But if you just can't stand putting money down the drain, then save it up, get your 20% and buy yourself a home. That's it for today, boomers. Have a good one. I'll see you on the flip.